Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am here again to make another reaction video to Rob from Rule of Two Review. And I've made one reaction video to him several weeks ago, and it had to do with a similar topic regarding Metroid Prime 4 and Kirby's Air Riders. And I just saw that he uploaded this video today, and it's a video about Metroid Prime 4 and how we hadn't gotten the release date. So this is something he's been crying about, not getting the release date for this game. And while I can understand people's frustration, what I don't understand is people being assholes and taking their frustrations out on other great Nintendo games that are coming to the platform. That's what's really starting to piss me off right now, and it's been pissing me off. Rob right here from Rule of Two Review. This guy, I used to have a different YouTube channel back during the Wii U era, and he was one of the guys I was subscribed to, and I really liked his YouTube channel. In those days, I really did, and I think it was when I got the original Switch. I think for a while I was enjoying my original Switch for the first year, and after that, I kind of stopped gaming, and I stopped keeping up with gaming news because, I started focusing more on myself, my life, building up my skills to get better jobs, get higher paying jobs and whatnot. And I've come a long way when it comes to that. And it was only about 6 months ago when, something happened at the airport or whatever, and someone that I met or whatever, and they had like a Kirby sticker, and it reminded me of that Kirby Forgotten Land game, and I was like, you know what, I never got that game. That looked like it was a fun game, and that was like the first 3D game, and that kind of prompted me to go buy that game and start playing it. So believe it or not, it was basically Kirby who got me back to playing my Nintendo Switch again, because Kirby was always a character I was interested in, but unfortunately just never ended up getting around to playing. Now I've been playing Kirby a lot recently, and I'm excited for Kirby Air Riders to come out. So I started getting back into gaming on my Nintendo Switch. Then of course the Switch 2 came out, and I bought that. And I decided to start this YouTube channel. I think I started this YouTube channel before the Switch 2 came out, but anyways, yeah, I just got back into all of this, and of course I decided let me resubscribe to Rule of Two Review, because he was a pretty good YouTuber from what I remembered. But I think it was like a few months ago he did make a video. He's had some stupid takes, but he made a video a few months ago where he essentially made a video about Astrobot, and it was when Astrobot was coming out, and I think the game did come out, and you had a lot of these dumbasses, PlayStation fans, who were dubbing it the Mario Killer or whatever, even though the game only sold 2 million copies so far with an install base of 70 million. So clearly it's not no damn Mario Killer, that fucking overrated ass game, and it's only like an 8-hour game. But this piece of shit, he decided to make a stupid video about Astrobot and Mario or whatever, and it was the most one-sided fucking video where he's going after Nintendo fans and Mario fans, but not Astrobot fans, not the PlayStation fangirls who were talking shit. He doesn't say anything about them. He just talks about Mario fans and how they're, they need to grow up or whatever and shit like that. And then somebody in the comment section talked about how, all these Mario games sold like 20 million copies and Astrobot barely sold 1 million, and Rob was like, that has nothing to do with the video, why would you even bring that up or whatever. And I'm like, this guy's such a fucking dumbass. He's just, he pretends to be this Nintendo enthusiast, but he's over here just kissing ass for PlayStation fans. And this same guy, even though he's gonna say he loves Nintendo, he loves gaming, he loves all that stuff, it seems like the only thing he's very interested in these days is story driven games. Even a pretentious piece of shit like Death Stranding is considered to be one of his favorite games of all time. Now let that sink in. Death Stranding, that piece of shit, where it's not even fun. It's like a UPS simulator. You just taking stuff and delivering it from point A to point B, point C, and every now and then storms will get in the way, waves will get in the way, whatever. Strong winds will knock you over. It's one of those kinds of really stupid and lazy games from the most pretentious, fart sniffing piece of shit in gaming, Hideo Kojima. That guy's a fucking piece of trash. I'm so sick of that guy and his fan base. So sick of people just overrating that guy. That guy, he does not come close to being anywhere near as good as Shigeru Miyamoto or even Masahiro Sakurai. Those are one of the biggest legends in gaming, not that piece of shit. Anyways, Rob over here, that's one of his favorite games, right? And just recently, in one of his last videos, he said that he was not going to be buying and playing Kirby Air Riders. Now, there could be several reasons for that. One is probably because he's just a fucking boring ass dude who only wants to play story driven single player games like Death Stranding. Maybe that's why. And that Kirby Air Riders, it looks like a fun action packed game, so he's not really into it. Or he's just being very petty and he's just, taking his frustrations out on Kirby Air Riders because they gave us a 45-minute direct of that instead of a pointless release date for a game that doesn't look that fun so far, that being Metroid Prime 4. Anyways, his stupidity continues. He made this video right here where he's upset because we had not gotten a release date, and it's already, we're in September. And even though Nintendo has already said the damn game's going to come out in 2025, they had it playable at Gamescom. It already got its rating or whatever. Despite all of this, he's still being a little bitch about it, and he's still just whining about all this. We're not getting the release date, so therefore I don't care about anything else. I don't care about Zelda, Metroid, and he says that right here at this timestamp regarding the September Direct. Now, it's been rumored we're getting this September Direct, right? So we might get some information about Metroid Prime 4, but we may not. Some people are speculating that, well, we're only going to get information about it right after Kirby Air Riders comes out, because it comes out on the 10th of November. So let's just say that Metroid Prime 4 is scheduled to come out like on the 15th or the 20th of December, right? If that's the case, Nintendo's going to want, they're going to want to keep hyping up Kirby Air Riders, which makes me happy. I want them to keep hyping up that game. They're going to keep hyping that game up, and then a week or two after that game finally comes out and it's doing well, then they're going to really shift their focus on Metroid Prime 4, and they're going to give it its own dedicated direct, and they're going to promote the hell out of it, and they're going to get people focused on that game next, which is smart marketing if you ask me. But, so many, entitled YouTubers out there, they just don't see it that way, and Rob is one of them. Now, he should really just keep his expectations in check. He should just not worry too much about it, because considering the fact that it's already confirmed to come out in 2025 and it's already been played, it's already been, playable at Gamescom, you would think he wouldn't be acting like this still, but he is. And now he's starting to be so entitled that, if this Nintendo Direct comes out and it ends up being one of the greatest Nintendo Directs ever, even if it wouldn't matter to him. Like, he would ignore it just because Metroid Prime 4 won't be in it. So if this Direct comes out this September, it's rumored to be coming out on the 12th or whatever. let's say it doesn't have Metroid Prime 4, but it still ends up being epic. He's not going to care. He's probably not going to talk about it. This is the kind of entitled bullshit I'm getting sick of, tired of. So let's listen to Rob right now for a quick second.
Moved away from the Nintendo Direct discussion cycle and the rumor cycle and the prediction cycle. Obviously, I love Nintendo Directs and I get excited for them and I see and hear the same rumors that you guys do. And I think about them and I get excited about the rumors that maybe I tend to believe or feel possible. Of course, I'm a game fan, I'm a Nintendo fan, I'm a Direct fan, just like you. But I've really moved my YouTube channel and my online presence away from that stuff because I think it's just been, for way too long, we've been paying too much attention to that stuff, and it's better to just be surprised and to just enjoy what we have between the directs, and then a direct happens, and we enjoy the direct, and then we just move on with our lives. That's kind of, at this phase in my life, that's kind of where I'm at. And since I have a YouTube channel, that now comes through, I think, in the videos that I make. So that is what it is. But given the Metroid situation specifically, that is the lens I'm looking at this direct discussion through, is only Metroid Prime 4 at this point.
Only
because
Metroid.
It's really all I care about until I get the release date, and heaven forbid until I play the game with my actual hands and fingers. It is the only thing I care about in gaming. I don't care about a Switch 3. I don't care about a PlayStation 6. I don't care about a Zelda game. I don't care about Mario. I will care about those things once I know Metroid's date, but until I get Metroid's date, I do not care. There's everything else.
Alright, looks like we're getting a bullshit ad that's going to interrupt us. But yeah, as you guys just heard, he doesn't care about a new Zelda game. He doesn't care about a new Mario game. All he cares about is fucking Metroid. And I think that's just really pathetic. Until, let me pause it. Yeah. Until we get a Metroid Prime 4 release date, he doesn't care about Zelda, Mario, or nothing else. So, he's really starting to just be really fucking stupid about this. This is getting really pathetic. Let's continue.
Do not care. There's everything else, and then there's Metroid and the damned release date. So, all that is to say, when I consider these discussions or the idea of a September Nintendo Direct, of course I get excited. Of course it makes sense because like 99% of the time, Nintendo has an exciting Direct in the month of September. And, even Nate the Hate is saying he hears September 11th or 12th that there could be a date, probably like in the second week of the month. Okay, it makes sense. It adds up. I believe there probably will be a Direct. Other discussions about Mario's 40th anniversary and some kind of presentation or Direct around that. They did certainly do stuff for the 35th anniversary, so maybe something happens. Again, I love Mario. Don't care about Mario right now. I'm looking at you, Samus. So if we get a...
I love Mario. Don't care about you, Mario. I'm looking right at Samus. Bro, shut the hell up. Alright, shut the hell up. You barely care about any other game outside of Metroid. I don't even think this guy really cares that much about, like, Zelda. I mean, he says Zelda and Metroid are his two favorites, but I don't know about that. And you know what? Right now, this bullshit right here, it kind of just confirms what I've been suspecting about that guy, and that's the fact that he only cares about Metroid when it comes to Nintendo. Sure, he's got that cute little Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask case just sitting right up there on that little rack that he has in his room, but let's be real, this guy, and then he's got the Master Sword down there, but let's be real, and this guy, it seems like he is just a full-blown fucking Metroid fan at this point. And it seems like all he cares about is just sci-fi shit. It's just sci-fi fantasy that all this dude cares about. Star Wars, Death Stranding, and Metroid. And that's it. Because that's what he just chooses to passionately talk about. Now, again, if that's all he wants to care about, that's fine. But I'm getting sick and tired of him just coming on here whining and just being like, I'm not gonna care about Mario or Zelda until I get my release date for Metroid. And I'm getting tired of that entitled bullshit.
Direct in September. Yeah, it has to be the time, right? It has to be the time for Metroid Prime 4 to finally get that date. Now, the only other thing I wanted to say about this, though, is I am going to double down on something I said in the recent discussions when Kirby and Metroid was all in the news together. And I made kind of a jokey, fun video discussing the clash of fandoms and the whole thing that happened with Kirby Air Riders and the lack of Metroid date and stuff, and even my own, actual opinions on that.
He says I made a fun, jokey video. I was like, nah, not really. What you did was he made a stupid thumbnail that was supposed to be clickbait, but then you wrote clickbait in it, so then it really wasn't clickbait. And then you began the video by saying it was clickbait, but then you proceeded to actually bitch and moan about the fact that we were getting a 45-minute direct for Kirby Air Riders instead of getting a damn release date for Metroid. So this dude's just full of shit right now. He's being pretty disingenuous right now. He's, it's like he's just... This is like kind of like just cognitive dissonance on his part, where he's trying to pretend like, he wasn't being bitter or petty towards Kirby Air Riders, but he is, because, even though he said he was going to watch that direct, it doesn't seem like he did. I mean, he didn't like, give us his video reaction of him reacting to the damn thing, or he didn't make a video, giving us his thoughts. He just briefly mentioned it in his next video and was like, yeah, I'm not going to buy or, play that game. So, yeah, I think this guy's just so full of shit right now. I'm getting sick of him. These are the kind of fans I do not like. I just don't like these fans who only like one franchise from Nintendo, and they're just so one-dimensional and narrow-minded that they're just going to ignore everything else. How about just being happy we're getting some fun games, all right? Can you at least just be happy about that? But no, he only cares about just this one franchise. It's getting on my damn nerves.
I do want to double down on something I said in that video around that discussion. And that's, even if we're going to get a wider Nintendo Direct in September, and maybe Metroid is or isn't a part of that, whatever, I still actually believe that what Kirby Air Riders got in terms of like a 3 or 4 day news cycle from the announcement of the Direct itself, 45 minutes, tons of new information, a release date that had everyone talking, Sakurai giving a bunch of information and playthroughs of the game in that long Direct, and that whole week kind of just being owned by Kirby news and excitement and people now understanding when they could buy and play this new Kirby game. I feel like Metroid Prime 4 really is worthy of and even deserves the exact same kind of treatment. And when I say the exact same kind of treatment, I mean that I kind of feel the game deserves to have a 4-day to week-long news cycle that is dedicated to just news and excitement and announcements and gameplay.
Okay, let me just pause it real quick. So, the language he's using right now, he's saying, I kind of feel like Metroid Prime 4 deserves to have its own, Nintendo Direct, deserves to have its own news cycle and, whole entire week of just hype and all of this. And it's like, well, first of all, you don't know if the game deserves that, because you have not played the game. You don't even know how good the game's gonna be. You don't know if it's gonna be this awesome thing, or if it's just gonna be another standard Metroid game. Now, what I will say, the correct way to say this would be, I really wish they would give us a 45-minute direct so we can see more about this game. We could see what it's really going to be about. I really wish it would start getting more marketing and would start showing us, more exciting things about the game. Not that it deserves it, because you don't know if it deserves it. What if it's a really lame and boring game and the only thing it has going for it is just its visuals and its graphics? You can't say, well, it still deserves a 45-minute direct. Like, look, the only games that deserve hype, good marketing, are fun games. That's why Kirby Air Riders got all that marketing, why it got a 45-minute direct with the legend himself, Masahiro Sakurai, presenting the game to us. It got all of that because it's a fun game. It's got lots of content and playable characters. It might even have a story mode. Masahiro Sakurai apparently himself has said there was still a lot of things he has not shown us regarding that video game. And then there's that little teaser at the end with that character. Some people think it's Dark Matter. Some people are suspecting it's a new character. A lot of people are suspecting that that is a hint to a story mode, and I think that could be the case, and I hope that is. I hope that game has a story mode. That would be freaking awesome. But even without a story mode, the game still looks really fun, like a typical Smash Brothers and Mario Kart game, but just more fun than both of those games. So him saying, this game deserves it. Okay, first of all, no, I mean, it deserves it if it's a great game. Yes, I agree. And I wish they would market the hell out of the game if it's a fun game. Now, the fact that we hadn't seen much of it, or the things that they have shown have been just very simple and basic and just not that exciting, kind of has me worried whether the game is really going to be all that or not. But maybe it is. Some people think they're just holding out. I hope that's the case, but don't say that they deserve to have marketing and a 40-minute direct. He'll say that, well, it doesn't have to be 40 minutes. It could just be 20 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever. Cool, but like I said, a game only deserves hype and all of that if it's going to be a good game.
And Kensuke Tanabe interviews and a release date around Metroid Prime 4. So, independent from a wider Nintendo Direct in September, I think Metroid Prime 4 should get the same thing Kirby got. It doesn't have to be 45 minutes, as much as I would love it, but some kind of announcement of a Metroid Direct, then the Metroid Direct happens, maybe it's 20 or 25 minutes, tons of footage, tons of details, interviews, and a really exciting, brand new, flashy release date.
I'm so sick of tired of these fucking ads, man. Alright, here's a stupid ad. Skipping it. Alright.
Exciting, brand new, flashy release date. I mean, just picture it, man. Yes, I'm talking to like Nintendo and game fans who would be excited about Prime 4, but I'm also talking to you fellow Metroid super fans just like me. Think of how dope it would be if, like, maybe the first week of September, they say, hey, it's a Tuesday, and they say, hey, tune in on Thursday for a 20-minute Metroid Prime 4 Nintendo Direct, featuring new footage and gameplay details and interviews with Kensuke Tanabe and the Retro Studio staff. And they don't even have to tell us the release date will be in it because we will all know that that's going to happen. And suddenly, that week, 4 days minimum, maybe the whole week, is dedicated to everybody saying, holy shit, it's time for Metroid. There's a direct, we're getting details, we'll learn the date, we'll talk about the date, we'll talk about the footage. You know me, I'll be making like 15 videos breaking down the footage and theorizing and speculating on what's happening with the story and Samus and Planet Vueros and Psylux and the artifact and all this crazy cool stuff, the psychic abilities, the new suit. Maybe they talk about like online multiplayer gameplay for the game, who knows? We get to talk about that stuff, man. And sure, they could give us a 45-minute regular direct on September 11th or 12th, and maybe there's a minute-long trailer that shows a couple of new things, and then they say, you can play Metroid Prime 4 on November 13th, or whatever date they would say. And it's like, oh, great, that's super exciting. But that's just 60 seconds and one big piece of news amongst 45 minutes worth of other stuff. And it certainly wouldn't be Nintendo's big final thing, because they're going to probably want to announce like a new Mario game for next year, or some other bigger game than Metroid in that direct. So suddenly, Metroid Prime 4, in theory, I'm only guessing, wouldn't even own the news cycle of that singular 45-minute wider direct. But if it has a week dedicated to its own show, its own details, and the release date, Samus owns that week and owns all the hype for that period of time. So naturally, that's my dream. The only other thing to then talk about is what date would make sense. Again, if we're committing to 2025, like Nintendo keeps doubling down on, the carrot that they're dangling in front of us, what would a 2025 date be? Well, I've kind of settled on And if you've followed my videos, you've probably seen my opinions and my guesses shift with every new conversation, because all I can do is shift my dates, because every new day and week we don't get the date. So yeah, my guesses are constantly changing because that's the information I have to go on. So as of the recording of this video, and this might change next week, who knows? I'm kind of settling on 2 time frames. One is, yes, I keep talking about December. I'm not predicting December, but I still think it could make sense for the reasons I've talked about before. Xenoblade games and Smash Brothers Ultimate, Nintendo has released some big games in December before, including 2 of them being on the Nintendo Switch 1, and with Pokemon being October and Kirby being November. If Nintendo wants 1 big game per month, I think the first week of December is possible. That's when they released Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Smash Brothers. We're like literally the first week of December in their respective years. So I think Metroid could make sense for that time. Is it my prediction? No. But is it an option we should all keep available in our mind's eye as a possibility? Yes, I think so. The other one, and this is kind of new for me to really feel comfortable saying that maybe this does make sense, is if in the first half of September, so like in the next basically 2 weeks, if they give us the release date, however they do it, if they tweet it, if it's in a direct, if it's in a Metroid trailer, whatever they do, we get the date in the next 2 weeks. I think Nintendo actually could get away, and I've changed my mind on this, with releasing Metroid Prime 4 between Pokemon on October 16th and Kirby on November 20th, because you have about 4.5 or so weeks. It's like just over a month.
All right, this brings me to my last point of this video. Anyways, he's hoping, I guess, they're gonna release the Metroid game between Pokemon and Kirby Air Riders. No. First of all, I don't think so. I think that would be stupid, especially if they want to get as much hype around Kirby Air Riders or whatever. And I think he's gonna suggest that maybe the game will come out in October, right? Metroid Prime 4 coming out in October. Nah, I don't think that would be a good date. I think December would be the best date, and I think it would be second or third week. Now, he did say that. He did say that he's gonna lower his expectations and, expect for the game to come out in December, but he said like the first week of December. Yeah, first week, second week, maybe even the third week. I think those would be the best times for Metroid Prime 4 to come out. Because right now, I think Nintendo, again, I think they're trying to get as many people hyped for Kirby Air Riders. And so it makes more sense to have Metroid Prime 4, be released in December so they can have plenty of time to build that game up after the release of Kirby Air Riders. I think that would be the best way to go about it. And I wish more of you guys would look at it that way. You Metroid Prime 4 fans and, people like Rob who are just impatient. That's the way y'all should be looking at it. Now, I'm not going to finish playing the rest of this video. Eventually, he starts to say, I don't want people telling us that, we need to be patient because, we've been waiting long enough, and it's only Metroid Prime 4 fans who, no other fans of other franchises had to have waited this long or whatever, even though, Kirby Air Ride was, released 22 years ago. So, he seemed to forget that. But regardless, he makes that really stupid, statement like, don't tell us to be patient or whatever. Well, I'm not asking you or telling you to be patient, Rob. You could be as impatient about it as you want. I'm just telling you not to be a fucking dickhead about it and take your frustrations out on these other good fucking games. Because you literally just said that you don't care about Zelda, you don't care about Mario, you don't care about anything else until you get a release date. Okay, so again, if Metroid Prime 4 is not going to be shown in this upcoming Nintendo Direct, but it still ends up being a freaking awesome Nintendo Direct, and they're showing us like 8 freaking awesome games or something, you're just going to ignore it and not talk about it because they didn't say anything about Metroid Prime 4? That's the shit that's pissing me off. You being impatient about the game's release date or whatever is one thing, but then, turning into this entitled little brat where you're not gonna give any bit of your attention to these other great games. That's where you just become just this unlikable person. You used to be more likable. You used to be like the kind of guy like you would talk about any freaking awesome game coming out or whatever. But now it's just like, I don't care about this. I just care about Metroid. So this guy really fucking sucks now. It seems like a lot of the YouTubers I used to like suck now. Doc Trey 81, Black Baron, and this guy. Uh, who else? There's many that don't even make YouTube videos anymore. But yeah, I'm getting tired of this guy's bullshit right now. You know, he should just write. Here's what he should do. He should just have it already set in his fucking mind that perhaps Metroid will come out in December, and we're not going to get any more hype or information regarding it until after the release of Kirby Air Riders. Like 1 week after Kirby Air Riders releases, then we'll start to get more Metroid news. You know, that's what he should do. He should try to program and condition his brain to believe that, so he doesn't have to be just this fucking entitled and whiny fucking dude. You know, I don't like talk too negatively about this guy, but he is really starting to piss me off, and he's been pissing me off for the last few months or so. And yeah, it's kind of sad to see that. Sad to see a guy like this become this entitled and whatnot. But regardless, look, I think I'm gonna give Retro Studios the benefit of the doubt. This game probably will be great. I'm hoping, but at the same time, I'm gonna keep being real with you guys. I think Retro Studios has sucked in the last 20 years. People make excuses for them. People give them a pass. People keep saying, well, it's because they're standard. They have a very high standard when it comes to quality, and that's why they've had so many games get canceled or whatever. Well, it's like, dude, every freaking most of Nintendo studios have this high standard for quality. So I'm getting so sick and tired of people just, you know, using that as an excuse when it comes to Retro Studios. Anyways, yeah. I can't wait for this Nintendo Direct September 12th. That was my response. You know, stop being fucking entitled, Rob. Quit being entitled. Quit being this unlikable asshole who just wants to ignore everything else and only focus on Metroid. Because not only does it make you unlikable, it just makes Metroid fans unlikable. And then that kind of just turns people off from the fucking franchise itself. If you want more people to play Metroid, don't fucking act like this. This is what's going to turn people off from Metroid, period. And I do love Metroid. And let me just tell you this, Rob. I've actually beaten 2 Metroid games. I've played 5 different Metroid games. I've only been able to beat 2 because they really are that difficult. But you know what? Even though they're that difficult to beat, I've beaten 2, and I have not beaten a single Kirby game yet. I've just recently got back into the Kirby franchise, got into playing Kirby, and I'm trying to, you know, invest most of my time into Kirby and beat those games. And I feel kind of bad for having not put much time into that series, into that franchise. I'm even watching lore videos and everything like that. I'm watching short clips of the anime. I'm just like, you know, I'm all in when it comes to Kirby. I don't have this, you know, stupid childish mindset where I'm just like, you know, I only care about this one thing, and so I'm not gonna care about anything else. Wake me up when Metroid comes out. You know, I don't have that stupid mindset. I can't stand people who are like that. So right now, I'm basically, you know, because Kirby Air Riders looks awesome, and I'm so excited for it. Right now, I'm playing through Kirby games, and I'm playing through Kirby in the Forgotten Land. It is a really fun game. I love that game. I'm playing through Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. That's a really fun one also. I've even just started playing Kirby and the Magic Mirror because they have that game available on the NSO for the Switch too. Probably for the Switch one also, but I just started playing that one. I'm like, oh, this one's fun too. I mean, obviously it's older and outdated, but it's fun, and I get a little bit of nostalgia from it. Anyways, yeah, every time it comes to a new game from Nintendo, I try to invest as much of my time into that franchise of that game before that game comes out. So I was playing a little bit of like, you know, Metroid Fusion, which is a game I really hope to finish, but it's, you know, it's got some pretty difficult parts in it. And I'm hoping to play some other Metroid games soon as well, before Metroid Prime 4 comes out. But since, you know, Kirby Air Riders is coming out first, I want to play through as many Kirby games as I can, have fun with that, you know, indulge in the lore of it before it comes out, and then enjoy that. And you know what, Rob, if you want to, you know, you should do the same thing. You know, you should start playing some Kirby games or whatever, since that's the next game, right? Take your damn mind off of Metroid for once, because right now this shit is, again, it's making you very unlikable, and it's getting on my damn nerves. And I know I'm not the only one. You know, how about, you know, instead of just being a dick, say, hey, you know what? I'm going to play some more Kirby games. I don't know if this guy does Let's Plays. I don't know if I've ever seen this guy do Let's Plays, but, you know, why not do that, you know? I don't do Let's Plays just because I don't really have, like, a computer set up to record my gameplay or whatever. I'm not sure if there's a way I could record my my gameplay footage from the Switch. If there is, I could, or I would. Anyways, yeah, I've rambled on long enough. That was my response to Rob. You know, stop taking your frustrations out on all these other great Nintendo games. All right, that's all I got. You guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Later.